What's going on, guys? Kevin Cage here with another crypto update. I really hope you enjoyed today's video. We're going to show you where I believe we are in this cycle, because looking at the past cycles, it looks like this cycle has already begun, so I believe that a lot of alts at lows are going to be retracing and going significantly higher, like we've seen for some alts that have retraced to the March and April 2022 highs, and even others at new all-time high prices. So over the past 12 months, we've talked about the Bitcoin Volatility Index, or the BVOL, per previous cycles. We've talked about Bitcoin dominance in the past two alt seasons. We've talked about the total market caps, excluding Bitcoin or excluding both Bitcoin and ETH, and looking solely at the altcoin market. We've discussed the market cycles, the Bitcoin halving dates in tandem with election years being stimulus years, as Raoul Pal points out, and also global liquidity. So when we're looking for the biggest moves for alts, yes, news is important, but the most important thing is for Bitcoin historically to go on a big rally. So we know this is the first time that Bitcoin has wicked into a new all-time high price, taking out the previous cycle top before the halving. So a lot of people are saying this cycle is different. Yes, there are differences, but there's also a bunch of similarities. So I shared this back in January, pointing out the Bitcoin monthly price chart. Every single time the monthly RSI has closed above 70 and overbought, we get an all-time high price, and we just got that again. In 2016, we did a retracement to the 618 Fibonacci retracement. This is on the Bitstamp price chart. 2019, we also got the retracement to the 618, crashed back down into reaccumulation. This is the similar fractal per the actual Fib retracements that XRP is in today. And then for 2024 this year, we got up to the 618, pulled back, and powered up into an all-time high price, or at least wicking there thus far. So looking at the Bitcoin price chart on the monthly time frame, these markets move in cycles. So I see some people sharing the weekly RSI and saying it looks weak, but I am looking at the monthly RSI. It's a much bigger picture. So we can see every time just multiple cups every few years, even if the timing is different. Every single time resulting in new all-time highs. So the previous cycles, we got up to 90, we got up to 90. Even right there, if we go with my cursor, right there, the monthly RSI was around 91. So today, we are still well below 90. We're around 74, 75. Now, when momentum is at a high during these impulses, Bitcoin goes on much bigger runs. Even if it falls back down, it's staying above and goes much higher. We can see that in the past cycles each and every time. Even right there where there was bearish divergence, we still created one more all-time high price because we were in overbought. And I originally shared this back in November, so every single time the Bitcoin price chart has closed a full weekly candle above the 50% Fibonacci retracement, we've historically headed to an all-time high price within 1 month to 3.2 months. We have 2013, we have 2016, full close, not a fake out, but a full weekly close with the wick and the body of the candle included. We headed to an all-time high price. 2020, and then we also did it this year in 2024. Now in past videos, I've measured the cycle lengths from low to top, from low until all-time high, considering election years, considering the Bitcoin halving until a new all-time high, and then Bitcoin halving to cycle top. So we originally shared this back in November. And here we can see in these price charts, looking at the past two cycles, I was measuring the peak of the monthly RSI in the length it took until we broke into a new all-time high price, whether that's a wick or the first major candle. So we can see 1,216 days. Last cycle was 1,096 days, from the peak of the monthly RSI until breaking into a new all-time high price. And I retweeted this back in January, emphasizing looking at these counts and applying them. If we followed the length of either of these two cycles, that would be between March to July of 2024. So we got a wick at the very least to an all-time high in March, because we're actually following this. And this is from measuring this length of the peak of the RSI until we broke into a new all-time high price from this peak of the RSI. That took us to March. Using this length, that takes us to July. So solely looking at the past historical analysis, if you disagree, that's completely fine, I get it, but I've never seen Bitcoin wick into a new all-time high price and crash back down to the lows. I've historically seen us, with the monthly RSI, run significantly higher, and I'd expect that this year if we rhyme with the past cycles. So that is how I'm treating my portfolio. Now we're going to dive into some alt charts today, but I want to show a few more things that are super important with where we're at today. So in 2017, we also created an all-time high price and fell back below to this trend line, later creating another all-time high price, taking out this previous top. So it's important to remember that some of these draws take time. So we created a high here. We didn't actually draw our first major move into new highs again for 69 days. In 2020, we did wick and poke into a new all-time high price, taking out the previous cycle top. We did fall back down and then later impulsed much higher about 17 days later after creating an all-time high. So looking at today, we've wicked into new all-time high price. We've yet to draw our first major move above that level, and we're going to look at the past cycle of what happened for alts when Bitcoin drew its first major move. And we've shared this a bunch as well. This is the Bitcoin price chart on the weekly time frame, holding above the 21-week EMA, part of the Fibonacci sequence. So during a bull run, specifically after halvings, we've historically seen holding above this level all the way up during bull runs. Yes, we can have some wicks, but for the most part, maintaining above this level. 2016, 2017 is the best example of this. Backtest, 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 wick, candle body, wick, all the way up. And last cycle was a bit different. Instead of perfectly backtesting all the way up, we really just impulsed and really just backtested around there, and this is after the halving. So looking at today, when we get pullbacks and bull runs, because we will, could we draw like 2020 and just go straight up? Yes, it's possible, but if we rhyme more with 2016, 2017, I want to see us hold this 21-week EMA. The longer the Bitcoin price chart maintains above this EMA is going to draw higher and higher, currently around 49,000. So it's important to remember that pullbacks happen even during bull runs. They're regular 30-40% crashes that we've shown in previous videos on the way up. Now we're going to dive specifically into alts. I know I shared this a long time ago, but it's a lot more applicable today, so we're going to go over this. So we have on the right hand side, this is Bitcoin last cycle. We had the 2017 top multi-year bear market until breaking into a new all-time high price. So I know right there we technically wicked into new highs around November, but our first major move wasn't until December 14th of 2020. So the first major weekly candle, big impulse up and weekly close above this level. This first major move is what we need to see for the Bitcoin price chart. Bitcoin draws a large weekly candle to like 80,000 and closes above the previous cycle top around 69K. I'm getting super excited. When we look at past cycles, we can see examples of alts heading to an all-time high price or even moving with Bitcoin or relatively close behind it like we're seeing today. However, we have plenty of examples of alts during this vertical line of Bitcoin blasting into all-time high prices, so its first major move above this level right there. A lot of new people in the space typically assume that altcoins just go parabolic right away with Bitcoin. Some can, but the majority are still in accumulation until breaking out of their previous highs. So we have the DAG price chart as a perfect example. This is an alt that I had a great entry on last cycle. We can see Bitcoin exploded. What did DAG do? DAG actually dropped another 46%. So there's plenty of historical data on other price charts if you look on CoinTrader, but right here we can just see accumulation, up, down, back and forth, waiting to break out. The Bitcoin price chart exploded right here above its previous cycle top, closing weekly candles above this level. What did the DAG price chart do, even HBAR and others? We can see we crashed 46%. We didn't actually break out of accumulation for 2 months, about 60 days, until we took out this next high. So December 2020, Bitcoin exploded. DAG actually dropped for another month behind it, began retracing, breaking out of accumulation 2 months later, having a much better ROI than Bitcoin, doing over a 70x from this low, and then even after breaking out of accumulation, taking out this previous top, doing another 1600% move to all-time highs. We've also shown examples of the HBAR price chart, so when Bitcoin broke into new highs right around here, December 14th, what did it do? HBAR trended sideways, did a little crash, double bottom structure, and then boom, another month later. And looking at the past cycles, there have always been some alts rallying even before Bitcoin and all-time highs. So we have Chainlink on the daily looking at its performance, all-time high, back into consolidation, another all-time high, well before Bitcoin started blasting over here. So there are always leaders and there are always laggards. Now we've already seen some alts reach up to some golden Fibonacci extensions. We're seeing a bunch of alts still in accumulation at their lows yet to draw that first major move. We're also seeing at random different alts starting to get a big impulse out of nowhere like AR or Arweave. So we can see 1, 2, 3, 4 large weekly candles up to the 50% coming up to the March and April 2022 high. So we've seen a variety of assets already do this. Solana, Injective, Fetch, Render, I believe Ocean, Track, and more. So considering the last 2 bull runs that I experienced, especially last bull run because I was locked in, I like looking for alts in this accumulation structure coming back up, potentially holding the 21-week and forming this pattern right here because those have that probability to do that blast off. And there are plenty of other examples of alts being laggards. So Bitcoin right here on the Filecoin price chart. This is when Bitcoin absolutely exploded and took out its previous cycle top. What did Filecoin do? It actually fell a little bit lower and didn't get its first major weekly move until February. So even from the impulse, what did Filecoin do? It dropped about 30%, trended sideways, and took off about 2 months later. But when some of these alts actually start drawing their impulses and Bitcoin is well into all-time highs, we can get a lot more movement. And here's one more quick example before looking at some price charts today. So Bitcoin exploded December 14th, that first weekly major move. We crashed, didn't take off for 2 months. But we had other alts like Doge or meme season like we're seeing today. Bitcoin got its first major move and Doge just went parabolic. I'm not considering Shiba because that price action was later in 2021. So let's quickly scroll through some different assets today on the monthly time frame. So just big picture view, this is just showing examples of alts that have retraced to higher levels where there are other assets that are much lower. This is never financial advice. You always have to do your own research into each of these assets. Every single asset in the crypto space has protocol risk, liquidity, all types of concerns. And of course, there is the highest potential during a bull run when Bitcoin is blasting into new cycle highs. So hopefully in this video, I've done an okay job quickly running through things I'm looking at and showing you some of the considerations. There are a bunch. It's all about confluence, confluence, confluence. Just like real estate, it's about location, location, location. So just like in every video, I am showing you my subjective opinion, my bias, and why I believe that, and hopefully showing and explaining it well enough. Right or wrong, I believe we are nowhere near our cycle top for the Bitcoin price chart. Looking at Collins Bull Run Index, aggregating the Pi cycle, 9 different metrics. We are not in dark red like the previous cycle tops. So if you'd like to check out this website, it's right here where my cursor is, and I've also explained the Bitcoin monthly RSI. And again, anything is possible in this market. 2022 taught us that anything can happen. One domino of a bank failure or black swans, anything can change. But on the other hand, instead of black swans and negative events, there can be positive events and completely flip the narrative. For super bullish price action and to see volume flow into this asset class like we've historically seen every cycle for the past 10 years. So simply looking at different examples of alts that could potentially be leaders for this cycle and other laggards. So this is what I've done for years. I'm assuming a lot of people are doing something similar because we see this each cycle. So we have Fetch AI blasting into new highs right around the 2618 Fibonacci extension. So right around the 2618, wicking up to that level thus far. Bitcoin has wicked into a new all-time price. We've yet to see its first major monthly or weekly candle into highs. We have Render blasting into all-time highs, looking very similar and almost like it's following behind Fetch. We have Solana making moves up to the 786, yet to break into a new all-time high price, we'll just say around $260. The lower the RSI is, the more potential it has to run up, but when we see us blasting into overbought over 70, we typically see a huge run, potentially an all-time high price, like we've seen for Render, Fetch, and others. We can see Solana's momentum on the monthly time frame. The relative strength index is above purple over 70 and overbought, so we absolutely can see all-time highs while we're up here. So we can see STX or Stack on the left approaching an all-time high price, basically a wick on that level. We can see monthly RSI has pierced, it's coming back down a little bit right now. We have Ocean, another example of an asset beginning to pierce and overbought. We've yet to create another all-time high price versus the previous cycle top in April of 2021. So for all of these, I'm looking on the monthly, the weekly, looking at fib retracements, looking at the RSI, the pivots, all types of things, considering fair value gaps, liquidity gaps if I have them for some assets, etc. And we have other assets at lower levels like SNX or Synthetic. So we can see in a similar structure that Ocean and a variety of others were when they're consolidating before getting that next big impulse up. The difference is we need to see the RSI cut up like we did for Ocean. So right here we are above the 50 line or the middle line. We have OGN getting up to the 21-month EMA, starting to curl up. We've seen other assets already explode up to the March and April high like we already showed for AR. We've yet to cross the 50 line for OGN. We had this move in October, November for Rose. We can see crossing the 50 line, getting that first wave upwards, which is great. Both HBAR and Rose have yet to reach their March and April 2022 high. So both of these assets on the monthly, on the weekly, it's a bit more clear, and clear accumulation, breaking out of accumulation, taking out these previous highs, beginning their mark up. There are sell-side imbalances and fair value gaps for Rose and HBAR. I believe HBAR reaches an all-time high price. I understand skepticism for this cycle alone, but again, these fair value gaps are super important. We've had other assets already reach these retracements, sell-side imbalances, and swing highs. And I can't believe some people just dismiss HBAR because of the supply. They don't understand the level of applications that this network is driving. We know Cardano hit $3.10 with a $99 billion market cap with a $32 billion circulating supply. So Hedera is absolutely capable of doing that at some point. And looking at different alts in accumulation, Curve, Kava, Energy Web Token, Casper, looking at the monthly RSI, this hasn't even risen past the 50 line. So we've seen assets get strong retracements when it does. So same thing for the Casper price chart. We are in accumulation. I'm adjusting different trend lines. We're just ranging sideways. There's nothing I can do until we actually break and close that fair value gap at 7.2 cents. We challenge and go past those other highs and simply follow what a lot of alts in this market have done, that is 7 to 10 cents. The question is, when will these alts and clear accumulation take off? I am waiting for Bitcoin to draw its first major move to the upside. Because solely looking at history for alts at their lows in accumulation, when Bitcoin draws that first major move to the upside, yes, they can crash a little bit longer for a month or two, but we've historically seen alts eventually play catch up to these swing highs, taking out swing highs and retracements, some of them even going parabolic into new all-time highs. There are a variety of assets in accumulation at their lows. It is not just one token you hold. Even if you have one that is already up 5x, there are a variety of others at their lows. Bitcoin, if it does in fact create another cycle and go parabolic like we've seen during the previous runs, whether that's 80K, 120K, 150K plus, we're gonna see these alts play catch up. So even during my videos over the past 12 months, when I'm sharing these fair value gaps, I clearly can't time anything when we're in accumulation, but I believe these fair value gaps, these swing highs are all important for a variety of assets. I wait for each cycle whether I time it or not because I want exposure with the potential of Bitcoin going into another cycle, meaning driving into significantly higher prices. There are a bunch of alts, some having similarities, some having a lot of differences. Some are chopping sideways, drawing very unique waves in accumulation, others are doing a rounded bottom. All in all though, we are seeing more and more at their lows in this chop finally starting to draw this recovery. The total altcoin market is yet to take out its previous top. We can see the total market cap excluding Bitcoin yet to take out its previous top, and then going all the way down to total 3, just the altcoin market excluding Bitcoin and Ether, yet to take out its cycle top. I can only go through so many alts in a video without the video being super long and nobody would watch a long video. I just want to emphasize these structures we're seeing for alts in accumulation, some of which have recovered, some of which haven't yet, and they're still in accumulation. Hopefully I've explained well enough in this video the things I'm looking at for different assets that are in accumulation and my personal opinion on the matter. Anything is possible in crypto. I'm not laughing at anybody calling for significantly lower prices, and I'm not laughing at anybody calling for insanely high prices. I might be skeptical on the timing, and we're just going to have to wait and see. What I believe is that markets are cyclical. Even if these cycles are different, there are rhymes and similarities that we can see. I believe the crypto asset class explodes in the future, going well past $3 trillion as its all-time high market cap. And just scrolling through different assets, we've had some assets at all-time highs, we still have others at relatively low prices. I'm not endorsing these projects, but just to emphasize, if there were to be a big liquidation event or a big crash, of course that can happen at any time. For me, it would make a lot more sense for a lot of these alts at their lows to get much stronger retracements, get retail excited, get more liquidity in the system, and then the big accounts, the whales, institutions, high-frequency trading bots can then liquidate everybody. So that's my opinion on the matter. We've had some alts draw some nice retracements, we've had some starting to wake up, but there's still a variety of assets at their lows yet to wake up to the same degree that Bitcoin, even the altcoin market, has woken up. Thanks so much for watching today's video, guys. Huge thank you to all that hit the like button, subscribe, and comment down below, and share this around, and I'll catch you in the next one. If you enjoyed this video, I'd greatly appreciate if you could hit the like button, let me know your thoughts down below, and my link tree is linked in the top of this YouTube video description, with all links, crypto resources, and discounts. I'll catch you in the next one.